they're sitting there. And when the judge comes in, everyone says, "All rise." You know, this deification of humanity of this judge. You know, when did we start doing that? What makes us think that that's a good thing? There was a hearing one time. I was testifying before the Alaska legislature about the jury nullification. I'll keep this real short. We're talking about it, and the Attorney General said, "We can't leave that discretion up to the jury because they're just human. They'll make mistakes. We need to leave that up to the judge." He tipped his hand, didn't he? He believes that the judge is divine. And you know what? That's nothing to joke about, because there's a new religion in this country, and we've got to recognize it if we're going to win this war. The God of this religion is government. And the legislators have become priests. And the Capitol buildings are temples. And the ritual that they perform is legislation. And there's a whole slew of people out there that subscribe to this religion called statism. And they really, truly believe, sincerely in their heart, that if the priests can apply the right combination of rituals in those temples, that any problem that that is before us can be solved by this God. They can make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. You know, they can raise your kids, make your kids turn out good. They can make sure that you don't get sick. They can make sure that you are prosperous. They can change the weather. Think about it. Think about it. This is, I mean, it's funny, but it's sad. We are asking government to stand in God's place. And that is the highest form of idolatry. Back to the furniture in a courtroom. All right, so that's how the political law court is set up. Here's how we set up the common law court. There's a jury box high up here. There's not a judge. And you have a pedestal for the plaintiff and a pedestal for the defendant. These beautiful marble pedestals that somebody donated to us. And inscribed on those two pedestals are the two laws. Do all that you have agreed to do, and don't encroach on other people or their property. If you forget what the laws are, you don't got to look it up. It's right there. You know? All the laws there are is right there. And all of common law is derived from those two laws. It's refinement of the application of those two laws. So then over here, you have a desk. You know, got the jury right there, plaintiff and the defendant right there. You got a desk right here where the jurist sits. You know what a jurist is? A jurist is a legal philosopher who is known for their knowledge on matters of law. That's Black's Law Dictionary of what a jurist is. Frederick Bastiat was a jurist. John Locke was a French jurist. There was some good stuff came out of France a long time ago. And so the jurist sits here, and the job of the jurist is to be an informational resource to the plaintiff, to the defendant, and to the jury when asked or whenever it's necessary. And then over here on this other side, you've got a recorder, a secretary that types everything down. That's how the common law court works. And it operates at roughly $180 an hour, depending on what the price of silver is. Because we pay the jurors 1 ounce of silver an hour, we pay the jurist 2 ounces of silver an hour, and we pay the recorder 1 ounce of silver an hour. And here's how it works. You go before the you go before the jury if somebody's got a dispute with somebody else. And we didn't ask for any sort of government blessing on this. This has been the natural state of man. And if you look throughout all of history, everybody from the Papuanas in New Guinea to the German War Guild to the Roman merchants after the fall of the Roman Empire to the Irish common law to the Old English common law in the 12th century to the Old West to the Founding Fathers, it's all common law. That's why they call it common, is because it has been the natural way that people organize themselves throughout all of human history. It's just as natural as a man and a woman falling in love and building a life together. You don't have to be taught to do that. It just happens. You know, it just makes sense, and everybody does it all over the whole country and all over the whole world. Common law is the same way. People have a natural propensity for organizing themselves in this fashion that I just described. We didn't make it up. We sort of did make it up, and then we found out that everybody else had made it up too, just the exact same way. Funny how that works. So, You come before the common law court. You don't shovel through minutia and tit for tat in a desk. You stand at a pedestal. You plead your case out of common sense merit before a jury of your peers. They make a decision. It requires a unanimous decision of the jury. You know why? Because these Generation 4 Glocks kind of got a sticky grip. You know why it requires a unanimous decision from the jury? Because right and wrong are not a matter of opinion to be decided by a majority. It assumes that right and wrong is knowable, that it is attainable, and that if a jury will apply themselves with diligence to seek out what is right and wrong in this case, that there can be a unanimous consensus because it is an objective, discoverable, knowable, definable, attainable truth. Random, out of the phone book. And we send people out there with, well, I'll get to it. Don't. It's coming around. Okay. So that's how the jury functions. It requires a unanimous vote for guilty or not guilty. Now, here's the way common law works. It is all based on restitution and setting things right. There's not this concept that if you did wrong by somebody, now you've got a debt to society. Don't even think society was there when it happened, you know? So you got this debt to society. So the lady that, broke into her house, robbed her stuff, broke it all up, these punk kids that did it or whatever, they say, in a political law court, they'd say, now you got a debt to society. So you're going to go to juvenile jail. You're going to get to marinate with some real gems in there for the duration of your sentence. You'll come out a better man. Sure, it's like a criminal convention, in there, in jail. All they got to do is sit around and talk about how to do more bad stuff. So they put him in jail. They tell the lady, well, you're SOL on the damages done to your house there, and we're going to double tap you for the taxes to keep these kids in jail, and probation officers and all this stuff. And then these kids, they just get stuck in this eddy. They get out of jail, they get right back into jail. They can't get a job, so then they get back into jail, and they're just infinitely rotating around in the system. Meanwhile, the person that was victimized didn't get restored, and she sees that our justice system is a joke. All right? Here's how the common law system handles this. The boys come before the common law court. They don't have a leg to stand on. The jury convicts them real quick, so it's a cheap trial. And the jury gets together with the jurist, and they come up with this. Okay, boys, you yourselves, since you don't have any money, you're going to come up with $700 to pay this lady for her time and her trouble. You're going to pay this court, however many ounces of silver it was, 12, 13, 14, 15 ounces of silver. And you are going to replace the windows you broke. You're going to give her all of her stuff back. You're going to restore her as nearly as can possibly be done, before you violated her rights. And you can either do that, or you can choose this other option. Now, everybody asks this: how does a common law court enforce their decisions? A political law court relies on the threat of force. If you don't do this, we're going to mess up your life something fierce. That's how a political law court gets you to comply. A common law court is all voluntary. Nobody is coerced. Everybody does it voluntarily. Here's the way it works. The only way you can enforce your rulings in a common law court is outlawry. You heard of Old West outlaws. Here's what outlawry is. Somebody says, no, I'm not going to have it. I'm not going to pay the lady. I'm not going to fix the damages that I did. I'm out of here. The court says, okay, well, this is not a coercive political court. We are not going to force you to abide by the law. And when we talk about the law, we're talking about the universal, undisputable right and wrong of human conduct that has been agreed upon. Those two laws, they're the ones that have sifted to the surface through all history and proven themselves. If you're gonna not abide by that, if you're not going to abide by what the court has to say about you doing right by other people, then you're going to forfeit your legal status. You're going to declare yourself, by your choice, to be outside the law, outlaw. And if you're outside the requirements of the law, you're also going to be outside the protection of the law. So if somebody does something bad to you, you have no more legal protection or legal standing than a wild animal. And if somebody wants to capture you and make you their servant, they've got just as much right to do that to you as they would to a wild boar or a wild goat or whatever kind of wild thing you'd capture.